I should have known something was off when my family invited me out to dinner. They never did that unless they wanted something. Still, I convinced myself that maybe, just maybe, this was different. Maybe they just wanted to spend time together. Alex, we haven't had a nice dinner in forever, my sister, Jenna, had said over the phone, her voice dripping with warmth. Come on, it'll be fun. Just a casual family night out. A casual family night out at La Belle Vie, a 5-star restaurant that charged more for a steak than my grocery bill for a week. That should have been my first red flag, but against my better judgment, I agreed. The restaurant was exactly what I expected: dim lighting, sleek decor, and the kind of place where the waiters judged you based on your outfit. I stepped inside and immediately spotted my family: Jenna, my younger brother Ethan, my parents, and even my cousin Mark. Alex, over here. Jenna waved enthusiastically. As I approached, I noticed the table was already filled with drinks, expensive ones. We got started early, Ethan grinned, raising his glass of what looked like a $25 cocktail. Figured you wouldn't mind. I blinked. Wouldn't mind. I sat down cautiously, my stomach tightening just a bit. So what's the occasion? My mom waved a hand dismissively. Oh, no occasion. Just a family get-together. That was my second red flag. My family never did anything just because. The menus were thick, leather-bound, and intimidating. As soon as the waiter approached, my family went all out. I'll have the filet mignon, medium rare, Jenna said, not even glancing at the price. Make that too, my dad added. I'll take the lobster tail and the truffle mashed potatoes, my mom chimed in. I'm getting the Wagyu steak, Ethan smirked. We're treating ourselves tonight, right? I hesitated, scanning the menu. The cheapest thing was a side salad for $18. I'll just have the grilled chicken, I said carefully. Jenna frowned. Oh, come on, Alex. Live a little. You work hard. Get something nice. Mark nudged me. Yeah, don't be so stingy. This is a special night. Special? No one had mentioned that before. My suspicion grew, but I shrugged it off. Maybe they were just in a good mood. I reluctantly ordered a steak, figuring it was fine as long as we were splitting the bill. As the night went on, my family kept ordering. Appetizers, premium cocktails, bottles of wine, like they had all just won the lottery. The laughter was loud, the conversation flowing. So Alex, my dad said, swirling his wine. How's work going? You must be making a killing these days, huh? I shifted in my seat. Yeah, it's going well. Jenna leaned in. Bet you don't even check your bank account anymore, huh? That was red flag number 3. I laughed it off, but something in my gut told me this wasn't just casual conversation. And then, just as dessert was being ordered, Jenna turned to me with a beaming smile and said the words that made my blood turn cold. Thanks for treating us tonight, Alex. You're the best. For a moment, I thought I misheard her. I blinked. Wait, what? Jenna beamed at me, swirling her wine glass like she hadn't just dropped a bombshell. The dinner. You're covering it, right? Since you know you're doing so well these days. I let out a short laugh, expecting someone else at the table to correct her. But no one did. Instead, my dad gave me an approving nod. It's really generous of you, Alex. We don't get together like this often. My stomach tightened. My mom smiled like this was the most natural thing in the world. Yeah, man. Ethan chimed in. You've got a good job. No kids, no mortgage. What's a little dinner for your family? A little dinner? The table was covered in premium dishes. Filet mignon, lobster, high-end wine. They treated the menu like a personal buffet. I forced a chuckle, trying to keep my voice light. I thought we were splitting the bill. Jenna waved her hand dismissively. Oh, don't be silly. You can handle it. I glanced around the table, expecting at least one person to back me up. No one did. The waiter arrived with the bill, placing it neatly in front of me. I reached for it, my hand suddenly feeling clammy. And then I saw the total. $1,086.43. My breath caught in my throat. I swallowed hard and looked up. You're kidding, right? Silence. Jenna gave me a sheepish smile. Come on, Alex. It's not that bad. Ethan let out a laugh. Yeah, dude. It's just dinner. I stared at them in disbelief. Just dinner? Over $1,000 on a single meal, and they were acting like it was pocket change? I forced myself to stay calm. I didn't agree to this. My mom sighed dramatically, setting down her napkin. Alex, we raised you better than to be stingy. You've always been the responsible one in the family. Oh. There it was. The guilt trip. The manipulation. Jenna pouted. Yeah, it's not like we ask you for money all the time. I clenched my jaw. Not all the time, but enough. Little things here and there. A loan for Ethan that he never paid back. Jenna needing help with a down payment. My parents asking me to cover bills when things got tight. And now this. I exhaled slowly, placing the bill back on the table. I'm not paying for all of this. For the first time that night, the cheerful atmosphere cracked. Jenna's smile faltered. My dad's jaw tensed. Mark raised an eyebrow. You're serious? Yeah, I said, my voice firm. I agreed to a dinner, not $1,000 feast on my dime. Ethan let out a sharp laugh. Dude, you're acting broke. I snapped my gaze to him. I would be if I kept letting you all take advantage of me. Tension spread across the table. Jenna scoffed, crossing her arms. So what? You're just gonna leave us with the bill. I met her gaze without flinching. I'm paying for my meal. The rest is on you. Silence. For the first time all night, my family didn't seem so smug. Then, the panic started to set in. They weren't expecting this. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The air at the table had shifted. What was once filled with laughter and indulgence now felt thick with tension. Jenna's smile was completely gone. My dad, who had been nodding approvingly moments ago, was now glaring at me. My mom looked genuinely offended. Ethan scoffed, shaking his head. You're joking, right? You can't just back out now. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms. Back out of what, exactly? I never agreed to pay for everyone. My mom let out a dramatic sigh, pressing a hand to her chest. Alex, honey, you're making a scene. I almost laughed. I was making a scene. They had just assumed I'd be their walking ATM for the night, and now that I wasn't playing along, I was the problem? Jenna let out a nervous chuckle. Okay, let's just not be dramatic. It's not like we can just split it now. I raised an eyebrow. Why not? Mark shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Well, none of us exactly planned to pay. We kind of thought you had it covered. I glanced around the table. Wait! Are you telling me that no one else brought enough money to pay for their own meal? No one answered. I clenched my jaw. Unbelievable. Ethan groaned. Come on, Alex. You have a good job. It's just money. That set me off. I exhaled sharply, trying to keep my temper in check. You mean the money I work for? The money I budget? The money I save, so I don't end up in situations like this? Jenna rolled her eyes. All right. No need to lecture us. No, actually, I think I do. I shot back. Because you all seem to think that just because I'm doing okay financially, I should be responsible for everyone. That's not how it works. My dad cleared his throat, his voice low and warning. Alex, this is family. We look out for each other. I scoffed. Funny how that only applies when you all need something from me. More silence. My family started shifting in their seats, realizing that I wasn't budging. The waiter was lingering nearby, clearly waiting for payment. Jenna leaned forward, lowering her voice. All right, fine. If you won't pay for the whole thing, just put it on your card, and we'll pay you back later. I let out a sharp laugh. Yeah, because that's worked out so well in the past. Jenna frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I shot her a look. You still owe me money from last year's family emergency. Her face flushed. That's different. I turned to Ethan. And you never paid me back for the time I covered your rent. Ethan huffed, avoiding my gaze. I was gonna get to it. I looked around the table. So forgive me if I don't exactly trust that I'll ever see this money again. Jenna groaned, leaning back in her seat. Ugh, you're so selfish, Alex. I let out a dry chuckle. You're calling me selfish? You all ordered the most expensive things on the menu, called me your sponsor without asking me, and now you're mad because I won't just roll over and pay. More silence. Then, the real panic started. The waiter approached again, this time clearing his throat. How will we be settling the bill tonight? All eyes turned to me. I met the waiter's gaze and said, loud and clear, separate checks, please. That's when the real chaos began. The second the words, separate checks, please, left my mouth, the table erupted. Jenna nearly knocked over her wine glass. Are you kidding me, Alex? Ethan let out an exaggerated laugh, shaking his head. Dude, you're really doing this? My dad's face darkened. You're embarrassing the family. Embarrassing? They were the ones who had racked up a ridiculous bill without even checking if they could afford it. The waiter, bless his soul, stood there, politely unfazed. Would you like me to itemize the bill or just split it evenly? I'll pay for mine separately, I said, pulling out my card. The rest is up to them. My mom gasped. Alex, you are being completely unreasonable. Unreasonable. I repeated, raising an eyebrow. You all assumed I would pay without even asking me. That's what's unreasonable. Jenna threw her hands in the air. Fine. How much could it even be per person? The waiter, who had been patient up until now, calmly said, if we split it evenly, it would be around $180 per person plus tip. The color drained from Jenna's face. Ethan nearly choked. $180? No way, man. My dad's jaw clenched. My mom blinked in disbelief. Mark, who had been quiet most of the time, suddenly started shifting in his seat. Jenna turned to me, angry but desperate. Alex, come on. Just cover it. I'll pay you back later, I swear. I let out a dry chuckle. Yeah, just like the last time. And the time before that. No thanks. My dad's voice dropped into a warning tone. Alex, family looks out for each other. I met his gaze evenly. You mean like how I've looked out for you all, time and time again? And how none of you have ever returned the favor? Silence. Ethan muttered under his breath. Man, this is ridiculous. Ridiculous, I repeated. You know what's ridiculous? Ordering lobster and steak like it's nothing, expecting someone else to pay, and then getting mad when that someone says no. The waiter was still standing there, waiting. Jenna groaned, rubbing her temples. Ugh, I don't even have that much on my card right now. Ethan checked his wallet. Dude, I only brought like $40. Mark looked like he wanted to disappear. I wasn't expecting this either. My dad clenched his jaw. This is humiliating. I shrugged. You should have thought about that before calling me your sponsor. At this point, the waiter had had enough. So how would you like to proceed? He asked politely. I placed my card down. Charge me for my meal. That's it. The waiter nodded and walked away. And that's when the real panic set in. Jenna grabbed her phone. Maybe I can Venmo some of it. My dad sighed heavily. We'll just put it on our card, he muttered. Ethan let out a loud groan, shaking his head. This is so dumb, man. Jenna shot me a death glare. You seriously couldn't just pay this one time? I raised an eyebrow. If it was just this one time, why is it always me? She had no answer. The waiter came back, handed me my receipt, and I calmly signed it while my family scrambled to figure out how to pay their portion. The energy at the table was completely different now. No more laughter. No more smugness. Just awkward, uncomfortable silence. And I was perfectly fine with that. The tension at the table was thick enough to cut with a knife. My family, who had spent the entire dinner flaunting their luxury orders, was now frantically whispering amongst themselves, trying to figure out how to split the damage. The waiter stood nearby, waiting patiently. My dad finally sighed, pulling out his wallet. Fine. I'll put it on my card, he grumbled. Jenna immediately perked up. Oh, thanks, Dad. I'll pay you back later. I almost laughed. That was the same line she gave me every time, and I was willing to bet she had no intention of actually paying him back either. Ethan sat back, crossing his arms. Well, if Dad's covering it, what's the big deal? My dad shot him a sharp look. I'm not covering it. I'm paying now, but everyone is paying me back. That wiped the smugness right off Ethan's face. Mark, who had been silent for most of his disaster, finally spoke up. How exactly are we splitting this? The waiter, ever professional, cleared his throat. The total is $1,080, including tax and tip. That would be $216 per person. Silence. Then chaos. Jenna nearly dropped her phone. $216? I don't have that kind of money. Ethan let out a nervous laugh. Yeah, man, that's way too much. Can't we just, I don't know, lower the tip or something? The waiter's polite expression hardened ever so slightly. I could tell he'd seen this before. Entitled people trying to stiff the staff after indulging in luxury they couldn't afford. Before I could say anything, my dad shot Ethan a glare. You're not going to embarrass us any more than we already are. The tip stays. Ethan groaned, rubbing his forehead. This is so stupid. I calmly sipped my water, enjoying their meltdown. Jenna, in full panic mode, turned to me again. Alex, come on. Just help us out. I set my glass down and raised an eyebrow. How exactly? You could spot me some money. I cut her off. You mean give you money I'll never see again? She pouted. You don't have to be so mean about it. I chuckled, shaking my head. Jenna, you called me your sponsor 5 minutes ago. Now you suddenly need a loan. Ethan threw his hands in the air. Dude, you're acting like this is a big deal. You have a good job. This money doesn't even matter to you. I tilted my head. Then why does it matter so much to you? More silence. Jenna sighed dramatically, pulling out her phone. Fine. I'll have to move money around. Ethan groaned, checking his balance. Guess I'm eating ramen for the next 2 weeks. Mark quietly took out his card, probably realizing there was no escaping this. My mom, still upset, turned to me. Alex, you've really disappointed me tonight. I blinked. Me? For what? Having boundaries. She pursed her lips. For embarrassing the family. I let out a small laugh. You embarrassed yourselves. My dad swiped his card, his jaw tight with frustration. Let's just go. The waiter handed him the receipt, gave me a knowing nod, and walked away. As we got up from the table, nobody spoke to me. The mood had gone from celebration to complete humiliation, and they hated that they had no one to blame but themselves. As we walked out of the restaurant, Jenna huffed. Well, that was a disaster. Ethan scoffed. No thanks to Alex. I stopped walking. No thanks to me? You mean no thanks to you all expecting me to foot the bill without asking? Jenna waved me off. Whatever. Let's just forget about it. I smiled. Oh, don't worry. I already have. And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving them to deal with their own mess for once.